Welcome to the Farmizen Show, where we uncover the delicious interplay between food, farming, and wellness, shaping a brighter, healthier tomorrow. Better for farmers, better for the planet, better for you. Let's dig in.
2, 1. Okay, it's real now. Showtime.
Yep. Hey, welcome Hitesh. Welcome all listeners to another episode of the Farmizen Show. And this is going to be fun because Hitesh is one of our first students from the Organic Farming Bootcamp, and it's very exciting to see him there at his farm right now. So we are actually recording this show with him being at his farm, Anoma Farm, right, which is in Himachal. And this is a very interesting time. Hitesh, I see that you have also probably been working at the farm because you have got yourself a little bit of a tan and you seem to have lost a little bit of weight since when we were doing the course, right? Is that true?
I guess the only way to be successful in farming is to get your hands physically dirty. If you don't do
Right,
things yourself, there's no way to know what can you really. So
right,
every day
right.
definitely is a new challenge. As far as the tan is concerned, I've been blessed with good genes, but yeah, it's the top layer burnt as well.
Cool, awesome. So I think before we get started, today's focus is going to be a lot on learning from the mistakes that you made, right? So we are going to spend a lot of time on that because, I mean, in general, we believe that we can learn more from mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to spend a lot of time in that. But maybe before that, if you can kind of quickly give a background uh, about who you are, where you stay, and what got you into farming. Then we'll take it from there.
Sure, sure. Brilliant. Well, I'm based out of Dubai. I grew up here for the better part of my life. 43 now. I've been living there for the last 35 years. It is a concrete jungle with very little nature. India was always a place that I used to visit from time to time. In fact, I think out of the 28 states, I might have been to at least 19 or 20 of them already. So 15 years ago, I made a trip to Himachal with a friend of mine just to basically go in the snow-capped mountains and do a little trekking trip. So that's what started my journey to Himachal, where our tour guide, at that time, 15 years ago, is my working partner today. Basically, the way it happened is we just continued to remain in touch over the last 15 years. I used to send him a lot of business from here because he was very good as a tour guide, very humble, very grounded, very good at what he did. Such people are rare to find. When I met him 2 years ago, when I had brought my family, and by family I mean my parents, parents-in-law, wife, and son, when I had brought them here to Himachal back in December 2022, I saw this friend of mine in terrible shape, roughly overweight, back would always hurt, he was eating really bad food. And just by chance, over a cup of coffee, I asked him, well, it wasn't really a cup of coffee, it was a drink to be honest. but but I asked him, if you were not doing this, what would you be doing? He said, भाई जी मेरा तो परिवार का खेत है अगर मैं खेती कर सकता तो मुझे खेती करने में बड़ा मन है so it was not the drink, it was my love for farming, things that I've been thinking about, I had been thinking about in the past. Because a lot of people have this aspiration, right? I want to be in the middle of nature, I want to get into farming, grow my own food, eat clean, drink clean water, breathe fresh air. A lot of us aspire to do that. So in that moment with Shashi at that time, I felt like the opportunity was just right. Because I know this guy and he has land and he wants to farm. And I want to farm. So I said, what's holding you back? He said, मेरे पास खाली बोरवेल का पैसा होता तो मैं फार्मिंग करता.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I thought, okay, kitna hoga, right? I asked him that. And then the number was rather modest for me to give him that. So the idea popped up, why don't we do this together? Your land, your ownership, my strategy, my input, my investment, and maybe together we can create some magic. So we started in March last year with a very humble 0.2 of an acre. And I think as of today, we're at about 1.3 acres in a span of 14 months. Hoping that by the end of the year, we would have at least 2 acres of cover.
Got it.
That's
And
the long story short of the journey.
got it. And this land is already there with your partner there.
Yeah, absolutely. He owns the land, so we
Got
didn't
it.
have to get into any issues like leasing and the typical challenges that you could have in the world of farming, since my
Right.
session is about challenges.
Right.
Uh,
So I
but
think
yeah,
you joined the Organic Farming Bootcamp, I guess somewhere around June, July, something like that of last year, right?
yeah, that is correct.
Probably.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
before that, I think from March you had started doing some farming on his own. So let's first talk about that journey before you
right,
joined the bootcamp. What did you
yeah.
start doing? I mean, what was, it's okay, you decided March, okay, let's dig a bore well. What next?
So from a strategy perspective, we knew we wanted to start small for two reasons. One, I couldn't be physically here because I'm based out of Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And second, my partner was getting into farming after a very long time. So I didn't think it was right for me to overwhelm him with, let's chalo pure khet ko. We just thought we'll start with a small batch, see how it all works out, and then take it onwards from there.
And the
So
idea was to always do organic. Was that the idea you initially said? Because see, I see that usually, I'm sure that your partner probably must have used urea and things like that before that, right? So suddenly convincing somebody to, okay, you can grow stuff without any chemicals can be very, very tough, right? So did you face the challenge?
yes, I did face that challenge with my partner because what he would do over here would be based on the information that he was gathering from the. And if all the neighbors are doing urea and anything else or any other chemicals, naturally his instinct is to do that because this is the source of information that's available.
Right.
So when I started feeding him information about organic, again, I didn't want to overwhelm it. The idea was for me also to slowly transition into it. It was not like suddenly Sara Khan chemical wala chhod do or suddenly sub organic ho gaya. So we took baby steps. Luckily for us, we are actually nestled in the middle of a very beautiful kind of environment with a lot of low-lying hills. So
Right.
Chutney itself, what we grow here is maybe, I'm talking about March last year now. We were probably about 70% organic then, and now we are 95% plus organic. It's only if we have a huge pest problem, then we'll consider maybe using something a little stronger. The purists will say either you are organic or you're not. I'm not a purist, I'm not an idealist. I've taken baby steps. I've involved organic processes with time, and I've seen great results.
Right.
But
And the idea really is to strengthen your soil so much that your plants become so strong that you can keep on reducing your dependence on chemicals. And hopefully at some point of time, they are just so strong that you are like, okay, you know what? I don't need any chemicals. Plants will take care of things with a little bit of help here and there. Right. So that's the whole idea. I think nobody should make that immediate, 1 to 0 jump, because then you can face problems like what has happened in Sri Lanka and other places as well. Right? So I think a gradual shift is more acceptable typically. But anyway, so before we get into that, I think the light might disappear. So do you want to just quickly, is it possible for you to like show us because the view behind you is beautiful. Is it possible for you to show at all?
Yeah, of course. I've got a Jugadu arrangement to fix my phone.
Okay.
It's running on battery flat.
Uh-huh.
But, okay. Let me just figure this out.
Sure. So you are on your terrace right now.
I'm on the roof of my partner's house. So I'm at the rooftop of where my partner lives. And this is basically the overall of our farm. So as far as you can see bamboo, that's all our land.
Okay.
In a circumference. Okay. So it's about an acre.
Got it. And what is that? Is that like a tank being built there? Is this a pond or tank?
The peach color tank is the tank we installed when we installed the drip line. But because we are doing very water-heavy vegetables, like tomatoes and cucumbers, this particular tank was not sufficing the purpose that we had. So in the distance, you'll be able to see a little hole dug into the ground.
Yes.
That's going to be a tank we are building at the moment, which is going to have a capacity of about 28,000 liters. So we've gone from 2,000 to 28,000.
Right. And I think 28,000 is going to be more than sufficient for your two acres.
Yeah. Well, speaking of challenges, we realized that every 2 days we have to give at least 12 to 14,000 liters to keep
Mhm.
all the beds saturated with water.
Hmm. Hmm.
At the moment, we are using mulching. I don't know if it's easily visible on the screen, but you can see a silver lining on the ground. That's a plastic mulch that we use.
Mhm. Mhm.
We are using a trellis method for the tomato plants, which we made out of bamboo.
Mhm.
And we've got clips attached to the bottom of the plant, which are then
Mhm.
tied to the trellis. That's a typical way of
Got it. Got it. Cool. Okay, but it's such an amazingly beautiful place. Well, what's that house? That's your neighbor's house? There's one house which we saw just now. This
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
the white one
Yeah.
is a neighbor's house. Hey,
Okay.
Shami, speaking of challenges, I can tie that into the neighbor's house. People are seeing what you're doing. They're
Mhm.
asking lots of questions.
Mhm.
They're giving you free unsolicited advice, which probably will never. But
Hmm.
nobody wants to join you.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, speaking of the guy with the White House, who
Mhm.
happens to be our immediate neighbor,
Mhm.
who has about 0.4 acre with him,
Mhm.
adjacent to the land that we have, which ends with the bamboo that I was telling you about earlier.
Right. Right.
So he might be actually the first challenge we'll overcome in terms
Okay.
of getting people together.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, he wants to join with us. He wants
Okay.
to lease his land out to us.
Mhm.
So, like I was saying in the beginning, we had a lot of resistance from most people,
Hmm. Hmm.
but now we finally have one guy who wants to collaborate with us. Because they're seeing
Got it.
how we are doing things very scientifically, right? It's not the
Hmm.
traditional method that they're used to.
Hmm.
So we knew it was only a matter of time till people want to join us. And उसका श्री गणेश हो गया ऐसा समझिए.
Like वो बोलते हैं ना कि क्या there's that saying, right? I think किसने बोला था, गांधी जी या किसी ने तो, like first they laugh at you, then something, and then then
Then,
they agree with you or something. ऐसा कुछ तो एक saying था,
yeah,
right? So it's kind
absolutely.
of like that. So you have actually seen that journey, right? First, your neighbors were all very circumspect. क्या कर रहे हैं ये लोग, पता है या नहीं? This guy is sitting somewhere in Middle East. He's saying something. His partner is doing something here, right?
Yeah,
They're all
yeah,
talking about organic and stuff like that. But now I
yeah.
think, are they? So in farming, typically neighbors will also come and visit your farm and see, and they'll have 10,000 things to say, as you said,
Mm,
unsolicited advice, right?
yeah,
So when they're
yeah.
now looking at your crops, now what are they saying about your crops now?
So, we won them with love. We won them with the taste of our produce.
Okay.
So most of the people who come to our place now at the farm are people who are coming to buy our product.
Okay.
And surely now all doubts are cleared because in the beginning it was like, ये क्या बन रहा है? लेकिन
Uh-huh.
अब वो वही चीज खा रहे हैं.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
they know exactly क्या बन रहा है?
Right. Right. By the way,
एक
what's
बार-
the location of your farm? Where exactly is this?
So the village is called Jajri,
Okay.
Jajri.
Okay.
The district is called Hamirpur, Hairpur,
Mhm.
and it's in Himachal Pradesh, as you said earlier. It's about a 2.5 hour ride from Chandigarh by
Okay.
road.
Okay. Okay. So usually अगर लोगों को वहां अगर जाना है, so they basically have to come to Chandigarh and then go by road there.
जी.
There's no.
Chandigarh में you can land or if you
Huh.
by road, whatever. Chandigarh से इधर पूरा 2.5 hours. That's the only
Okay.
way.
There's no train station or anything there?
No train station.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. So let's now talk about the challenges step by step.
Okay.
Right? तो क्या गड़बड़ हुआ?
तो गड़बड़ आप टेक्निकल पूछ रहे हैं या फिर
कुछ भी चलेगा, सब everything. Yeah.
सब कुछ चलेगा. So initially, तो देखो, I've been to the first organic farming bootcamp with Farmizen. Maybe this is an opportunity where I can take a moment to thank you guys, both you and Dikanjali. I think the work you guys are doing is absolutely phenomenal. And I think the best part, which I knew I was going to benefit more from, was the idea of getting people collectively in a group. That's why you can see I'm still active on the group and I still post my challenges, and everybody
Right.
is always welcoming in terms of what they have
Right.
done, how they can help, and so on and so forth.
Right.
तो
Actually,
challenges
one
की
of the
जहाँ बात
things we are trying to figure out is how do we build that alum. See, right now, most of the alumni interactions are usually inside that particular batches group, right? Which is obvious
yeah
because people have spent like 24 classes together, worked through similar assignments and stuff. One of the
yeah
things we are trying to figure out is how do you unlock that across batches as well? You know, that interaction across batches. We have to figure out, especially because people are scattered all across India as well, right? If
yeah
everybody was just in Bangalore, we could have just said, hey, you know, we have this big alumni day and everybody come in and join. So maybe we have to do
जी
like a virtual alumni day or something like that, you know?
actually would be a great idea. I mean, if you pick the most active people from all the groups and put them in one, the chatterboxes like me, I
Right.
think you'll have a great group together.
Yeah.
तो challenges की जहाँ आप बात कर रहे थे, the reason I mentioned Farmizen, क्योंकि challenges में basically let's keep it from a bird's eye view, right? So from the group that I participated with, I'm
Mhm.
assuming you might have seen a similar trend with others as well, because everybody was in a different stage of their farming journey, right? Somebody was
Right.
doing it just for the knowledge, somebody is a hobby farmer, somebody is a garden farmer, somebody is serious about it, somebody is into livestock, somebody is doing something else. It was a very diverse group of people all over the country. लेकिन एक common theme मैंने देखी for those who were not into farming already. I think the biggest challenge was for them to break the mental barrier. कि
Mhm.
चलो सीख तो रहे हैं पर अभी करना है, you know? And that often is the most difficult challenge
That
in your mind.
inertia, etc., which is there, right? I mean, what we have seen is that across many batches, people who were like, हाँ मैं 4 साल से हूँ की farming का, many of them
जी
को वो final धक्का, that final little bit momentum that you get or that little push that you get, वो
yeah
बहुत सारे लोगों का हुआ है. I think that's a very interesting thing, and I think people need that because you always hesitate, right? You hesitate before taking that leap. If you are, you know, अगर I'm sure this is like the same thing. आप जब मैंने कभी parachute वगैरह नहीं किया है. But I'm sure when
बिल्कुल
you are like just going to jump out, you have the parachute on his
yeah
you probably need somebody to give you a little bit of a push. You know, boss,
yeah
don't worry, your
absolutely
instructor is jumping with you.
absolutely. So speaking of challenges, ये सबसे बड़ा challenge है.
Hmm.
Session over. इसको ओवरकम करिए तो बाकी सब कुछ आसान. You know, because it's all scientific, it's all somewhat engineering, it's biochemistry, it's soil dynamics. अभी मैं कुछ basically name all your modules, right? If I had to. I mean, that's really all there is to it, right? So challenges आपको हर level पे आएंगे, आपको रोड लाना है. So, you know, speaking to the group head on, I would just say, if you've been thinking about doing farming for at least a year, then it's not something that's a passing thought. It's been in your head for a while. अभी मौका मिले, छोटा मिले, बड़ा मिले, अपने बजट के हिसाब से, अपने कॉन्टैक्ट के हिसाब से, just take that plunge. That's what I would suggest to everybody.
Because ठीक है, worst right? Worst you will burn your hands a bit. हो सकता है, but you will still end up with a rich experience, right? You'll still
Yeah,
end up knowing what not to do, right?
yeah.
क्या नहीं होना
Absolutely.
चाहिए, etc.
जी.
So I think that's absolutely important, and I'm glad that you took that jump. So any other things that you any other mistakes that you made or anything that you now wish that नहीं यार मैं एक rewind में जाता I should have done this. Anything else that's there?
Let's take a little break. Let me just gather my thoughts. Bullet point here. Let me just a minute. So far, so good.
Yep, all good.
Production challenges के बाद production challenges. Okay, Shavik, to answer your question, we can maybe get into a little bit of technicalities, which basically start from the seed level. वो एक challenge की अगर पहली बार जब हम इसको कर रहे थे, so we had to make a very makeshift kind of nursery, and we basically just used the soil that we had, and we started planting our seeds in that. Now, because our soil had not been used for many years, as I was talking about, you know, my partner and how he wanted to get into farming but couldn't. Initially, we started with a seed problem. Seed में fungus आ गया, पौधों में fungus आ गया, and then we missed the deadline to plant, which would then impact the selling rate of the soil.
Right. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. That's why you were when we were doing the class on Bijamruta and seed treatment, etc. You had a lot of questions, etc. At that point of time, right? Because I think
Yeah,
you had just seen the problem that can happen if you don't do a seed treatment, right? Or if you don't take
right.
care of adding some of these things like trichoderma, etc. into the soil, which can, help with your fungus issues, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was right at that point of time.
Yeah. आज ही हमने cucumbers के seedlings लगाए हैं, seeds लगाए हैं. And
Okay.
we made sure that we gave it a proper trichoderma flush and even rinse the soil with trichoderma. So yeah, speaking of challenges, it started with the seed level itself. Then when we transplanted, we had soil aeration problems because we have sandy soil. पानी तो हम दे देते हैं, we have no issues with water. But the moment the soil gets wet with water, it's got this tendency to coagulate. So again, we used some organic principles here. So we started using Gokrupamritam, which was recommended to us by Lakshmi Lokur, who was one of the instructors, I believe, in the first bootcamp that you guys had.
Right.
And we laid plastic mulching. Now, Gokrupamritam, along with our sandy soil, is now beginning to make our soil a lot more filled with humus. So I had done a bottle test, which again I learned from the Farmizen course. We were at about 90% plus sand at that time.
Acha.
And currently we are still at about 80% sand, but we have 5-6% clay now, and we have about 10-12% of humus. So
like that organic matter is forming, which is kind of slowly modifying the soil structure itself. And there's actually one very interesting angle also here. See, when you have sandy soil, no, तो it's basically उसमें क्या होता है sandy soil में आप जितना भी nutrient डालो ना, वो nutrient plant clay soil में that all of those nutrient, remember we talked about this cation exchange capacity and all of that stuff, that is higher in case of your clayey soil. So I'm sure if you do a test now and if you see the electrical conductivity or the cation exchange capacity, you would probably see that being more compared to before. And what that means is even if you add the same amount of nutrients, more nutrients are actually available to plants as your soil structure kind of changes. And we keep on going back to this always over the course of the boot camp, right? Ki boss, finally soil ko fix kar diya to baki sab kuch kafi aasan ho jayega, right?
Absolutely.
So the second problem that you basically faced was ki soil structure initially was a little suboptimal, but it's slowly improving, right? Excellent.
Right.
Any other production challenges that you faced?
So yeah, after we did the transplantation, because the fields were all open and the soil also was so fertile, right away we started getting weed problems. Weed just everywhere, like crazy, right? And now weed is not just something that's obstructing your walking lines. It's also something that's breeding ground for all kinds of pests, right? So flies, mosquitoes, white flies, leaf miner, I forget the name, but those
Aphids.
Yeah. Recently we had a nematode problem as well, recently. Although the topic was the initial days. But recently we had a nematode problem as well, which we've seen for the first time. Now, one mistake we've done before we made the beds is that we did not flush them with something like trichoderma or the Bavaria that we were speaking about 4-5 days ago. So right now we've given a Bavaria flush, a very potent one, and we'll do another work in a week from now. But we've quickly realized that our nematode problem was very local, and it was very specific to one kind of tomato species that we've grown called Sona.
Got it.
Again, कितना भी आप सीख लो, नए challenges, नई गलतियां हमेशा होती रहेगी.
Right. But I was glad that you guys kind of you could kind of identify कि ये nematode का ही problem है, right? And Bavaria could be a solution, and people in the group also responded back and said, yeah, ये try karo. I think this should be there. And then next time people suggested also putting in some marigold, because marigold may be nematode repellent kuch properties hota hai, right? The other thing that you can try out before your next round is probably you can try out what is called stale seed bedding. क्या करोगे आप? Raised bed आपने clean कर उसमें थोड़ा सा compost जो भी है डाल दिया, and then don't plant the main crop and still keep on wetting the bed for some time. तो उसमें क्या होगा, पहले weed का growth होता है, ठीक है? Once the weed grows little bit, थोड़ा सा first true leaves etc have come out, then remove those weeds with a handheld cultivator or whatever. It will be easy to remove those weeds then, because उसमें main crop कुछ नहीं रहेगा, सिर्फ वही रहेगा. Then after that you plant the main crop. तो पहले weed को थोड़ा grow करने, then plant the main crop. That will make it easier. You can do that, or you can do the the soil solarization that we talked about, right? कि इसको
Yeah.
एक plastic cover करके expose कर दो for a day or two, so that the weed seeds basically get killed, right?
Right.
So I think
right.
that's there. And how did you prepare the soil, by the way? अपने soil.
This time around, soil preparation, we basically use dung and we use copious amounts of Gokrupamritam. So I think we must have flushed the fields with about 1,000 liters of Gokrupamritam over a 1 month period. And I'm talking about taking 1 acre as an approximation. So
Right.
1 acre with 1,000 liters. We split it up into 5 batches of 200 liters each.
Got it.
That really was the only major preparation. We tilled it really well. So I was talking about weed earlier. So to handle the weed problem, the way we overcame that challenge is we immediately went and dusted in a brush cutter. And we made sure that the weed is being cleaned out regularly. Then we started the plastic mulching this year. And between the beds now we are using organic mulch as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
weed is now as good as gone.
Got it.
It is no weed now. So at the
So,
same time,
one
that we
thing
invested in
here-
a brush cutter.
Sorry, one thing
Sorry,
here
go
that I just wanted to kind of point out is that plastic mulch आपके वहाँ का weather में ठीक है, but in some of the more hotter areas, plastic mulch can also have this problem that it can heat up the soil too much. Your temperature will be perfectly fine actually, but Bangalore also it will be fine. In some of the other parts of the country, plastic mulch can actually heat up the soil a lot, especially in summer, right? So that
Okay,
can
yeah.
create some problems. But yeah, so you were saying you got the brush cutter, which kind of helped you, especially between the
Yeah.
beds, etc., removing the weeds.
Correct. So when we got the brush cutter, we felt like let's invest in the basic machines we were going to. And that's when the tiller idea came about. See, आपको पता है, I'm sure you must have heard this from a lot of people, like getting a tractor is a pain in the neck.
Right.
Okay. You call a guy and say, I'll come 3 days later, then it rains, and then it's a huge nuisance.
Correct. And whenever he is available, then definitely it will rain. And then in the wet fields, you cannot get the tractor in because it will compact the soil. Right?
Yeah.
This is the standard thing. I have suffered through it a lot myself as well. So you got a power tiller?
We got a power tiller, and I was tying that power tiller connection to the brush cutter because we bought it at the same time. But to prepare the soil, we filled the soil really well. 2-3 बार उसको ना मिट्टी को एकदम बारीक कर, because I was talking about sandy soil and soil that's not being used for a while now. So it was very tight and there's no aeration in it. So the tiller really gave it a...
Yeah. Again, the thing is, as your soil quality improves, the whole idea is that you should be tilling mindfully, right? मतलब gradually उसको reduce कर. See, this is again, all of this में कोई भी extreme thought process अच्छा नहीं है. For example, the extreme thought process no till, it is not very practical in my opinion, because करने का benefit है, right? Tilling करने से soil में oxygenation, right? That oxygenation is important. It encourages microbial activity. It makes stuff available for the plants. At the same time, if you are doing tilling just like, oh, every time I do tilling, then not only will it activate a lot of weed seeds, right? Because those weed seeds which are lying dormant will get germinated. Secondly, it will also affect a lot of your soil life as well. So you have to do mindfully tilling. I think in most farming decisions, as long as you're taking the decision mindfully, it's going to be fine. If you're taking a decision because the agricultural shop guy told you, ye karo sir, ye dalo chemical sab chale jayega, or then it's a problem, you know. Otherwise, like, take your own decision, be mindful about it, know that every action the kuch na kuch, you know, there is something, some positives and there'll be some negatives. Do it till the positives outweigh the negatives, right? So tilling ka bhi wahi chakkar hai. And as your soil quality improves, you'll see that your frequency of tilling will reduce, you know, because your beds, once they become so good that it's full of humus, right? And like you are able to work it with your hands, then one fine day you will say, you know what, I'm going to do tilling only once in 2 seasons. I'm not even going to do it the next season, right? Is बार मैंने grow किया, next time I'll let me grow something else. Okay, so cool. So these were some of the challenges. Any other production challenges that you can think of?
Yeah, watering the crops was a huge challenge. My guy on ground basically had to make these little ridges around all the beds to keep the water within the bed. Because again, one challenge we have in our farm, I don't know if you were able to notice when I was showing you the video, but we have a stepwise farm.
Yeah.
तो ऊपर पानी डालते हैं वो नीचे चला जाता है. Sandy soil है, everything goes down, right? So water was a huge challenge. You can see from where I am till the end of the field is about a good 50-meter walk. So earlier when we were giving water to the plants, a guy had to basically carry a huge pipe from the bore well, walk all 50 meters across, and then try to, water the crops. So, I mean, the thing with water and farming, right? Jal hai to jeevan hai. No water, no farming, right?
Everything else can be corrected, लेकिन पानी नहीं है तो बहुत मुश्किल है.
पानी नहीं है
you know?
तो luckily we are blessed. When we did the borewell digging, we went as far as 250 feet. Normally people stop at 75, 80 where they find water, but we decided to go really deep. We could get the purest form of water and not worry about supply for the next few generations at least. So, पानी का हमारा pH भी बहुत अच्छा है. We are neutral water, 7.1. We couldn't have asked for anything better. So, the way we overcame the irrigation water problem is by installing a proper irrigation. And I know every solution that I'm offering is cost intensive, but कमाना है, निवेश तो करना पड़ेगा. If you want to earn, you have to invest.
Right.
And maybe I'm going slightly off topic, but this year we're going to definitely cover our operation costs. Definitely, and probably.
Got it.
CapEx wise, maybe it'll take another year for us to recover that and make more of a name so we can sell at good prices and whatnot. But anyways, coming back to the water issue, we simply installed, once we did the beds, we installed an irrigation line, and now, every crop is getting copious amounts of water. Except for this problem I was telling you about earlier, where the 2,000-liter tank was too low. Then we got a government subsidy on this big tanks that I was telling you about. For 18,000 rupees, Ramesh, we are getting a 28,000-liter tank through a beautiful government scheme.
Like remaining is being covered by the government, basically.
Yeah, basically the whole thing. Yeah. 18,000 also is like a fund we keep in the government account, just for them to be sure that we're not, we're not just applying to build this. We're actually using it.
Got it.
ऐसे नहीं कि पानी का टैंक ही लिया और सबको household में पानी दे दिया. They want to see we are using it for agriculture.
Right.
And on the tail, we got a very lovely subsidy. We paid 82,000 for it. We got 30,000 back. So when you're making investments, keep a lookout for all the government schemes that are available in your state, because they might come in late, but they're very helpful because eventually they do come there.
And the interesting thing is, actually, when we talk to IAS officers, etc., what we learned is that a lot of funds are lying there unutilized because not enough people are actually claiming for them across the country, So I think that is people just don't know ki karna hai, or they feel ki yare time lagega. But so how do you do it? You guys go to the Krishi Vigyan Kendra nearby and you kind of keep visiting there to know of the schemes, or you look at it from when you're sitting in Middle East, or aapka partner karta hai, how do you keep in touch with those schemes?
Right. So although I live apart, I speak to my partner at least 3 times a week for about 30 minutes.
Okay.
I am very hands-on even when I'm not here. So to answer your question, कृषि विभाग की बातें हमारी आपस में होती रहती है, and I'm always encouraging him to go to कृषि विभाग. पहली बार जब वो आए थे तो हमारा कुछ ऑपरेशन ऐसा, लेकिन अभी जब वो आके देखते हैं, जैसे अभी 1 हफ्ता पहले आए थे, they were like, if you want any chemicals, then do let us know. We can give you subsidies on that.
Got it. Interesting.
We thought crops touch wood these days 9% pest free. हमने Gokrupamritam neem oil as well, something we started doing recently. We've got those fruit fly traps as well, the
Pheromone traps,
and also those yellow sticky traps.
Right.
चारों मिला के हमारा काम हो जाता.
And in terms of yield, right? How do you think your yield compares now? I know it's early days; it's just your first year of farming. How does your yields compare with people who are doing intensive chemical farming in that area?
So I wish I could answer that question the way you asked it. Around us, there's nobody doing vegetable farming. Everybody is very safely playing with maize, but maybe you've spoken to a lot of guys who do chemical stuff. But right now, out of every crop, we are getting about 3 to 5 kgs of tomato per crop.
Per plant.
And per plant.
Got it.
and we've got about 3,500 of them in the fields right now. So we're expecting the tonnage to be anywhere from 12 to 15, 12 to 15 tons from our
Nice,
current farm.
nice,
But
nice.
here's the difference, okay? Last year, when we didn't have all these organic oshadis in our field,
Mhm.
per crop, per, I don't know what it's called, but that part of the plant where all the flowers come out.
Mhm.
Last year we used to get 4 to 5.
Mhm.
This year we're getting minimum 8. Some have
Lovely.
even gone to 13.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we know whatever we're doing is actually working.
That's an interesting proxy to look at कि क्या हो सकता है yield इस बार, right?
जी,
Just seeing
जी,
किस level का flowering and कैसा
जी.
density. So good. Basically what you're saying is that so this organic thing is not a hype. मतलब ये ठीक से करो तो you can give a टक्कर to chemical farming also, right? So it's
Absolutely, absolutely. I looked in the camera earlier to tell you get into farming. Now I'm very, I'm a raving fan of everything organic. Don't hold yourself back. Just go for it.
and
Go
don't
to
think that it's a compromise, right? Don't think कि अरे नहीं organic है तो compromise है, yield अच्छा नहीं आएगा, this that. If you do the right things, if you have got your soil to the right, quality, why
Yeah.
will your yield go down?
Yeah.
So ऐसा नहीं है. So other thing is like when we were discussing earlier about what we should cover, one of the points you had mentioned was that you kind of need to be very alert at all times, right? Because many things can go. So can you throw some light on that? Kiss type of cheez, if you're not alert, what do you miss? Or by being alert, what did you see? What did you find?
So, being alert basically for me is walking the fields every day
Mm-hmm.
and looking for things every day.
Mm-hmm.
कहीं आपका फल सूख तो नहीं रहा है, कहीं आपके कीड़े ज्यादा तो नहीं हो रहे हैं, आपकी फ्लावरिंग ऊपर हो रही है कि नहीं, आपके सॉइल में पानी जा रहा है कि नहीं. Sometimes the irrigation lines can also get blocked, right? The trellis that's actually holding your crop together, does it still have enough structural integrity to hold the plant? कोई नया पेस्ट तो नहीं आ गया,
Right.
आपने pruning की है कि नहीं.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are always unexpected challenges as well, like the temperature can go out of the roof.
Mm-hmm.
The rains can be sudden and unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
Your nursery might get infested. Your pipes can start leaking. There's just so many things. And really the only solution around this is walk your fields every day.
Right.
All
Walk your
parts of it.
fields and keep a like आज क्या challenge है मैं भी I'll meet that challenge head on. That mindset is required, I think, if you want to succeed as a farmer. Because if you get into that mindset कि यार एक और problem आ जाए यार I'm fed up of this something else. When I thought everything is fine, मेरा ड्रिप लाइंस ब्लॉक हो गया, मैंने गलती से उसके अंदर से पंचगव्य डाल दिया, ब्लॉक हो गया. अरे then farming is a problem, right? So farming में थोड़ा सा अच्छा challenge आए, so you put a smile on your face and ठीक है यार, challenge आया तो क्या हुआ, इसको fix करेंगे, right? I think that is kind of required. Okay, so let's change tracks a little bit. So I think you talked about a bunch of production challenges, etc. But the other big challenge is, of course, कि बेचोगे कैसे? How do you market it? How do you sell it? Now, I don't know whether you have been able to solve that so far. Usually, most people, that is the more difficult part. And that is what, takes a little more time to figure out, right? So, how are you going about that?
So,
क्या situation?
yeah, धीरे-धीरे ही होना है. This year that we've been so strong that we have enough quantity to actually go to market. पिछले साल हम जो भी कर रहे थे, you could say हम 20-25% और बाकी locally बिक रहा. Because we've gotten quite popular around that. भाई Anoma Farm में अच्छी सब्जी मिलती है यहाँ से.
So a lot of local guys are also buying from your farm, which is amazing, right? And this is something that like people miss out. Like people always think, अच्छा नहीं मेरे को तो चंडीगढ़ है, right, 2.5 hours away. See, it's a small farm. It's a like 1.5 acres, 2 acres में ही है. जितना food produce हो रहा है, actually speaking from where I said, local demand में ही, and because finally everybody is beginning to, I think two things. One is, agar aapka produce is tastier and fresher, which it will be, right? Because harvest ke 2 घंटे बाद people will take it to their kitchen, right? Or 1 घंटे बाद. That freshness nobody can compete with because the other stuff in the local market is probably coming from Chandigarh. and it has gone to Chandigarh from somewhere near you. It has gone there, and then from Chandigarh it is coming to you again, right? Most
Yeah.
likely the supply chain is like that, so it's going to be 24 hours delayed at least, right? So now
Right.
food का freshness especially freshness is the key thing. मतलब freshness के साथ taste है and nutrition भी होता है, because within the first one day nutrition drops 40% of vegetables. एक दिन harvest 24 to 48 hours के अंदर 40% उसका nutrition ऐसे ही खत्म हो जाता है, because it's just taken some time. So I think even for people who, I think two things. One is एक का interest and people is there everywhere. Everybody is on Instagram, right? आपका जो वहाँ village है उसमें भी आधा लोग Instagram में है. So they are all listening to influencers, etc. Everybody talking about why organic chemical free is good. The second thing is, even those people who are not converted organic, for them taste and freshness is very important. So maybe you compete on the taste and freshness angle, and you know organic is just a bonus for those few people who are really into organic, etc. But you should target the entire market and say, boss, acha vegetables to kahi, right? And how is the pricing of vegetables in the market there? I mean, would you be able to compete with the price point, given that yours will be direct from farm and others will be via 2-3 intermediaries? So I think you might be able to compete on pricing also, right? If you're
So let
selling to
me talk
consumer.
to you about an immediate intermediary, which is basically the 2-3 kirana shop around where we live, within I would say 2 kilometers. तो उन तीनों के पास हमारा माल जाता है.
Okay.
ठीक है?
Okay.
And they are selling it for a premium compared to the other tomatoes that they carry. तो उनके पास 2-3 सप्लायर्स होते हैं. एक का एक प्राइस, एक का एक प्राइस, एक का तीसरा प्राइस. तो हमारा प्रोड्यूस
कितना मार्कअप डालते हैं बोलो?
वो कम से कम 40% पर डाल 40%.
Nice. 40% markup they put. Okay.
और हटने की बात ये है, उसके ऊपर हम 30-40% मार्कअप उस पे जो हमारे यहाँ से खरीद के लाते हैं.
Okay.
So they are paying for the convenience, right? Because they're living nearby. हम लोग के बोरवेल हुआ है कि आजकल के गाँव वालों को पानी चाहिए होता है तो हमारे पास आते हैं. तो आते हैं तो बातें होती है, 4 चीजें लेके भी जाते हैं. तो हम लोग का लोकल मार्केटिंग ठीक ठाक वर्ड ऑफ माउथ से ग्रो. अच्छी बात ये है कि लोग जो हमसे ले रहे हैं उनको पता है that they're paying more than market, but they're still happily paying because they know the product is good. Organic, they know some word up in the clouds called organic, which they somewhat understand, not as much as the Bangalore guys, right? Which they know exactly what organic is when they're chasing that. यहाँ पे लोगों का सोचना है यार हिमाचल है वैसे ही साफ है सबसे अच्छा है ऑर्गेनिक है. तो we sell them the same idea कि टमाटर देखो कितना लाल है, इसका न्यूट्रिशन देखो, और वो सब तो छोड़ो, तो 2 टुकड़े काट के ये चख के
देखो.
तो उसमें तो हमारा काम हो जाता है. We never really have to hard sell. प्रोडक्ट बिक रहा है, ठीक ठाक बिक, लेकिन बड़े मार्केट में जाना. You mentioned Chandigarh earlier. We want to get to Chandigarh as well, but I cannot go to Chandigarh to a guy and say मेरे पास 4 क्रेट है आपको लेनी है. We are at that stage where we are taking 25-30 crates at one time. जिस दिन हमारा 40-50 के दायरे में आ जाएगा, my goal is to obviously go to Chandigarh and find all these high-flying supermarkets that like organic to do. अच्छा, organic से एक चीज, one technical recommendation I can it just popped in my head and it's been working phenomenally well. अगर हम लोग हमारे टमाटर when we are shipping out भी न लगा, तो वो 7 से 8 दिन चलता है. अगर उसमें हम गोकृपामृत लें, तो वो 15 दिन चलता है.
अच्छा, before harvesting, if you put Gokrupamritam spray, or after harvesting on the crates you put?
After harvesting.
Wow. So basically those good bacteria in Gokrupamritam is fighting all of the bad decomposition causing bacteria, right? Which affect shelf life. So it's actually increasing shelf life by using microbes. Amazing. And you have done this test. You are confident that this works, huh? The shelf life increases.
I was just speaking to my kirana guy this morning saying कि हमारा माल कितने दिन चलता है. तो सर जी दूसरों का जो माल आता है वो तो 3-4 दिन में खराब हो जाता है, आपका 7-8 दिन. और मैंने गोकृपा लगा के देखा है 14-15 दिन चलता है.
Interesting, very interesting.
Plus प्रोडक्ट में शाइन आ जाता है, so it looks very appealing to the person who is trying to find. हमारा तो छाटने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, बस ऊपर से उठाया डाल दिया. Sorry, I don't mean to sound like I'm selling myself. I'm just very proud of what we have produced. All these organic orchards, That's all.
So for listeners, Gokrupamritam, if you do not know, Gokrupamritam is basically a bacterial microbial consortium which has been created by Bansi Gir Goshala. So you can go to www.bansigir.in And nobody is supposed to sell Gokrupamritam. It's something that you get from another farmer. So you can contact the Bansigir Goshala and they will actually connect you with a farmer who can give it to you for free of cost. And then you can keep on propagating every time. So once you get it once, you don't have to get it again. You can keep on propagating it, just like how, you keep on making curd by taking 1 spoon of curd and keeping on multiplying it. Gokrupamritam is something that we have heard lots and lots of farmers see really good results from, right? And many farmers have started using Gokrupamritam instead of Jivamritam, which is the other thing that's very extensively used. This is slightly easier to manage, and people are seeing better results with this. Yeah, sorry. What else are your plans about selling and marketing? What's next?
Okay, so
Now-
one thing I'm currently working on, in the Gao world, we call it Danka Bajana.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is not literally a Danka or a Nagada, but we have made a 7-foot by 4-foot board right in the middle of the village,
Okay.
announcing our name in the market
Uh-huh.
and giving directions to where we are located.
Nice.
ये गांव में 200-300 घर हैं, लेकिन सब फैले हुए हैं. So
Okay.
I think this board will give us that pull. People would be interested in reading it. Once they read it, they know where we are. And then,
Or why don't you do one thing? Ek din, get an auto rickshaw or a van or something, and just drive through the village with a loudspeaker announcing about Anoma's Farm, aa jaiye, and maybe do one event for the village itself, right? Where one day you do a lunch, literally free
Yeah.
lunch, right? Village में
हाँ.
सबको invite करके free lunch कर दो, ठीक है? कि आप लोग सब आ जाओ. Not only will they become supportive to you, right? You'll build a nice community. See, building a
Yeah.
community with consumers is always very useful, right?
Yeah.
तो
Yeah.
एक दिन आप सबको ऐसे छोड़, maybe lunch नहीं, maybe there is some like breakfast or something like that. आपका tomato use करके ही कुछ बनाओ
Yeah.
and ask people all to come and वो announce कर दो पूरा village में.
जी,
ठीक है.
बिल्कुल.
Value-added products, do you have any plans to create value-added products?
Oh, we've already started doing that. Sir, जब आप टमाटर के and when you're walking between the beds, you're always going to run into your plants and things are going to fall off. पका पकाया भी गिरेगा, कच्चा भी गिरेगा कभी कभी. काफी सारे होते हैं जो हो जाते हैं, राइट? टमाटर बिल्कुल तो सड़ जाते हैं. तो और जो सड़ जाते हैं उनको हम डिकम्पोजर में डालते हैं. और जो थोड़े से खराब है, मतलब a bird came and just get a little speck on it. We don't want to put that out in the market. So if it's a ripe one, then we are now started doing tomato ketchup out of it.
Okay.
And the kachan one that falls off, we are now starting to experiment to make kache tomato ka chaat for it. Tomato sauce we've already started doing, and the demand is growing already.
Got it. Achha, so now initially you must have also started selling at the mandi, right? Especially your first few harvests, right? Before you started getting more customers inside.
Yeah.
So what has been your experience selling at the mandi so far? What are the pluses and minuses? And how does the whole process work in your place?
Right. So शुरुआत में बहुत कठिन, because we were just entering the market and nobody knew us, right? So our product was always being considered as the product in the next grade, in the next grade, in the next grade. मतलब उनको कोई फर्क था कि आपका टमाटर किस क्वालिटी का है, किस ग्रेड का है. टमाटर ही है ना, तो ये रेट हम दे रहे हैं. लेना है तो छोड़ो, नहीं whatever. You know this. It's a very common problem that all farmers face. But over the last few months, we built a pretty good goodwill in the market, and now we have one particular mandi guy who we've made an arrangement with to not basically just sell at the market price.
Okay.
So we are telling him कि आप पूरे सीजन का हम आपको सप्लाई करते रहेंगे, उस पूरे सीजन का जो एवरेज आएगा आप उस हिसाब से हमें दे दें. Which we feel is a better strategy than.
Got it. Does he come and pick it up from your farm?
No, at the moment we have to go there, but we go only when we've got 25 crates for him.
Got it. So, and how far is the mandi?
Mandi from here is about 30 kilometers.
Okay.
30 to 40 kilometers.
So one of the things that farmers always face is that many times when the prices drop, the cost of transport might be larger than the money that you will make from that. We see some of that issue happen, especially when like tomato prices go down to 2-3 rupees and so on and so forth. So have you seen any of these price crashes so far in your experience?
So, we are facing this right now.
Okay.
I'm told that all the supply in the market currently is from Punjab. The quality, although it's not at par with what Himachal does, overall Himachal, I'm not just talking about my farm. They are going at 10 rupees a kilo right now.
Okay.
We are selling at about 35, 40 average. At least peak now. So price crashes are there all the time. Sometimes, depending on your name in the market and depending on the quantity you can hold or supply, you can play a little bit with that. This is something we started doing only now that we have substantial produce. Last year it was just like 5 plate and lelo.
So can you tell us what is your main strategy to deal with this whole massive price fluctuations? What is the main thing that...
So look, I learned this phrase a while back, and maybe it's a bit dreamy, but it is the right answer to your question or the honest answer to your question. And the phrase is think locally, act globally. So locally se mera matlab ye hai, everything that you were saying. Value added product is going to bring your markup high. Sell to the local population, who we've seen from our experiments are buying at a premium size, right? Keep good relations with all these local kirana stores. Keep good relations with the mandi guy and have these sort of arrangements with them. Next, we would be looking at the slightly bigger towns that we have close to where we are located. And then the next step organically would be Chandigarh, as I was talking about. So you see how I'm taking it inside out, right? And my bigger goal is, so I've been working in UAE now, Dubai, for the last 20 odd years. So I'm pretty well connected with the retail chain over there, especially when it comes to supermarkets. So I have the contact, but I don't have the production capacity yet. In future, when my production capacity grows, my plan is to also take it.
Right.
So
actually, because export markets may you do get a reward for better quality, etc. That commensurate reward, it's more difficult to get it in the domestic market, right? But in the export market, getting a much bigger outsized reward for much better quality is more possible, right? So I think that's a great idea. By the way, so now we can't see your face anymore. It's very ऐसे पूरा झप कर हो गया, अभी दांत दिख रहा है. So cool. So I think just like the last question from my side, right? Because we can't see you anymore, is so when are you shifting to India and getting into this farming full time?
Well, to be honest, my goal is to be here in the next 5 years. But I'm in a very sweet spot, Shamik, where I can balance both the worlds. I can live in a concrete jungle which is very commercially driven, and I can keep one foot here in the middle of nature where I'm growing high quality product. So over the next 5 years, my goal is to somehow balance both of these.
And I think this is possible because you have a partner, a trusted partner there who you have known for a long time, right? So if you find somebody like that, then actually this whole balancing act is possible, right? If you don't have the trusted partner and if you're just relying on somebody you have employed, right, to do it, then it becomes a big problem, right? So I think this is a good point to keep in mind कि अगर आपका farming का कीड़ा है, right? And you have a good job in the city, you like your job, you don't want to leave it, but you love farming as well. This is probably the right strategy to do. Do a partnership with somebody who's actually going to be there at the farm every day, and you make a trip every now and then. And I know that you keep on coming to India and you spend a lot of time in doing that, right? I mean, I remember you going to Lakshmi Lokush's farm and staying there, right? And learning the tricks of the trade and things like that, right? So so it's certainly possible. So it's not, again, like I'm not a big believer in 0 and 1 solutions कि नहीं सब कुछ छोड़ के farming कर नहीं तो farming करना ही नहीं. It's possible to balance both of these things together, but you have to do the right way. You need to know how to spend time. You need to make some visits. You need to have that trusted local partner who's going to be there every day. Doing it completely remotely with employees is very difficult in organic farming.
वो तो आपका restaurant भी नहीं चलेगा till you're not hands-on work. Even a kirana shop will not work. Even an online business will not work, right? You can hire people for SEOs and marketing and this and that, but till you're not hands-on in any business, it's not going to work. So I come here 3 to 4 times a year, and I make sure I spend at least 10 to 12 days implementing, learning, getting my hands dirty. And then I take all this information back and then I strategize and then Shashi executes over it.
Got it.
So
Acha,
yeah,
and
I
what does
agree
your
with you. The
and
balancing act is-
what does your family say? What does your family have to say about this?
My wife, touch wood, I feel very blessed in this particular area of my life. My wife is, I wish I could be on camera as I say this. So if she sees the podcast, at least she'll know that I'm crediting her.
You'll
Like,
get some
but,
brownie points.
we have a little break in Dubai at the moment because अभी छोटा Eid आने वाला है. And usually a
Acha.
week before छोटा Eid, business is usually slow. So I figured,
Okay.
let me just club these 2 weeks together and go to the
Hmm.
farm and spend some time. And when I had the nematode problem, I told her about it. And she was like, oh my God, you are going to be worried for the next 1 week. I said, I don't know how to solve it. But I'm thinking I should go. And she's like, yeah, get the next flight tomorrow. Go. This is your baby. Go take care of it while I need you. Yeah, family is very, very supportive. Look, people in the city are always fascinated, inquisitive, in awe of anything nature related. Yeah, बहुत सारे लोग हैं जिनको मैं बोलता हूँ मैं farming कर रहा हूँ. They're like, wow, you're doing farming. This is something I wanted to do. But you can't really do it in a place like Dubai. It's basically a desert. Anything you grow has to be in greenhouses, and the output is terrible. The food is not that great. So let me repeat that point in better language. Dubai is the place where it's very hot and it's not the right kind of agricultural environment. If you do any kind of crops, you would have to typically do it in greenhouse, which would not have the same kind of freshness and taste that you would. That's why a lot of the produce over there comes from all parts of the world.
Right.
It travels a long journey before it makes it to our table. So the demand for good crop is always there, even internationally. One point I will definitely say, think locally, but act globally. And by globally, I don't necessarily mean the world over, but start within the trade area that you have. In other words, for people who are living around you. If once they are your customers, then slowly you can start adding one more layer to your marketing and business side of things. So I don't think any other way, take the plunge, which is the mental part we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast. Learn the basics through courses like Farmizen, getting your hands dirty, speaking to people who made the mistakes before you. Production challenges, have that mindset where, okay, आज क्या challenge है? आज क्या सुलझाना है? What problem can I solve today? Like you were mentioning earlier as well. उनके साथ आपको per day deal करना पड़ेगा. आप किसी भी किताब से सीख के immediately नहीं कर पाओ. Till you don't get your hands dirty, you will just not know. It's like learning to swim watching a YouTube video. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So farming is something you'll have to do by yourself. And as you make these mistakes, as you navigate through your own unique challenges, depending on where you're doing this, the solutions will come to you, provided you're still driven by the idea of being into farming. क्योंकि starting में हम सब romanticize करते हैं, एक खूबसूरत जगह, खेत खलियान, पंछी उड़ रहे हैं. I'm going out and picking my fruit and vegetable. It is exactly all of that. Exactly all of that. लेकिन इतना romantic नहीं है. इतने hard work बहुत. और वो जब तक आप नहीं करेंगे आपको कोई support नहीं.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Hitesh. Now you are completely dark. So we will say goodbye to you. Thank you for spending time with us today. And I think it's very interesting the way your journey has shaped up so far, right? In terms of, somebody who's in a different country, but still able to manage to farm in India after having found a local partner here. That's a very unique aspect of your journey. Thank you also for sharing some of those produce pictures. Do share some of them. We'll put it up in this podcast also so that people see the sort of produce that you have been able to create, right? We hope that you will come and spend more time in India, right? And all the best as well. Now we can see you again.
Right. My last comment to what you said is, जहाँ चाह है, वहाँ राह है. So there's a will, there's a way. So if you made up your mind, you'll find your way. If you're dilly-dally and on the fence, then you have time to make up your mind. Don't put yourself in any kind of pressure. मैं हमेशा सुनता हूँ और आपके मैंने वीडियो में भी देखा था जहाँ आप कहते हैं कि lot of people say I want to retire and then be a farmer. My philosophy is the other way around. Be a farmer and then retire.
That's nice. That's nice. Awesome. Awesome. Be a farmer and then retire. Makes sense.
उसमें मजा।
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Thank
on
you
that
so
good
much.
note,
Yeah.
thank you everyone for joining Shami's podcast. You guys at Farming are doing a great job. If you've been thinking about doing the course, do it. You'll learn a lot. You'll learn all the technicalities of the business. And then you'll have a pathway to doing this yourself. And at the same time, knowing that you have other people that you can fall back on when you run into challenge. So good luck with all your journeys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was Hitesh from Anoma Farm, beautiful farm in Himachal. Take care, listeners. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the Farmizen Show, where we uncovered the delicious interplay between food, farming, and wellness, shaping a brighter, healthier tomorrow. Better for farmers, better for the planet, better for you.